Hey guys, welcome to Albion Obsessed episode number 7. We are here with Kurtis and Toby. How you doing, boys?
Not too bad, brother. Yeah, not too bad.
Doing
Good,
brilliantly, thank you.
Lovely. And we are, of course, here with the legend that is. He shot, he scored. It's Peter Ward. How are you, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you guys doing?
Good. Yeah, all good, thank you. We're absolutely delighted to have you on. Such a pleasure. And yeah, thank you for giving us your time. So we normally start the episode with a few icebreaker questions, Wardy, and we've got a couple for you today. So if you don't mind, I'll kick us off. So what is the best goal that you've ever scored? If you can pick out one.
I remember a few where I've gone on a dribble. That's my dog. Where I've gone on a dribble from like the halfway line and took a few people on and went around a goalie. Chest volley against Man United. There's other, I'd have to think about that one. There's quite a few goals that stand out, but
yeah, you've got too many to choose from. That's the problem.
I remember first time back at the Goldstone with Forest. I scored. Forest won 1-0, and I scored a header, which I never ever did anyway.
Oh man, how did that feel to score against us?
Strange, because I went to the same spot I usually go to after scoring at the south end, to the main stand, and everybody clapped, so it didn't matter.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, you're not going to throw abuse at Peter Ward, are you? So that's fair enough. What's the best stadium you've played in, Wardy?
Old Trafford.
Yeah, fair
I remember
enough.
playing for Forest in the World Club Championship game in Tokyo. That was strange.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, they kitted out half the crowd with red and white and half the crowd with light blue.
Yeah,
and it's all Japanese, no of their own supporters. But Old Trafford, I love Old Trafford.
Crazy. What are the Japanese fans like?
Loud. Yeah, it was quite strange because half cheered for Forest and half cheered for Nacional of Uruguay. So it was strange. It was a strange week, to be honest. It was we were there for a week, and Peter Taylor thought it was a good idea to stay on their time. So we were out all night and sleeping in the day. It was quite strange.
Gosh. And a little bit of a light-hearted question. What's the funniest thing you've seen whilst playing? If you can think of it.
I remember my shorts tearing and I had to take my shorts off and I had a jock strap on and I wiggled my ass to the crowd. Funny for me, but other funny things, we've had streakers. Funny things. I had, when we played Palace once at the Goldstone, we went 3-1 up. And I knew Venables from the 21s. And I went past their bench and gave him a wink and a nod. And he was pissed. He went mad.
Oh, we love that.
But, I'd have to think about that too. Another Palace one, through ball, bouncing, and Budgie and Cannon whacked into each other and left me with an open goal. So I thought that was funny as well.
Oh, lovely. They've got a habit of letting things bounce. Malpay comes into mind. But yeah. Oh, that's I'm glad you pulled out the Palace stories. I'm sure everyone's gonna love hearing that.
Definitely.
Kurtis, I'll let you take it away, mate. With regards to Brighton this season.
Sure. So what have you made of Brighton's start to the season? If you've had a chance to watch us,
I watch every game. We get every Premier League game. We get every game from all over live. So I watched the Brighton game. Doing great. I think last year we deserved more points than what we got as the way we
Absolutely.
played, because we've had a few games this year where we've not played as well, but we've won, which is fantastic. So he's doing a great job, Potter. Good, very good.
Do you reckon you would have liked to have played in this Graham Potter side?
I'd like to have played at I played for the Amex, at the Amex, in front of about, 1,500 people for the charity, the rent. But it'd be nice to play at the Amex. I'd like to play in his side. They are attack-minded, and it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it seems
Too
like
old
it
now.
would have suited you.
A bit too old
down
now.
to the
Last
ground.
year, perhaps, but now it's a bit too old.
Oh, you've still got it in you, no doubt, no doubt.
Go on,
Mordy,
Toby.
yeah, lots of Albion fans, including myself, never had the privilege of being able to watch you live. Just listing off your stats from your first stint, you scored 79 goals in 178 appearances for Brighton. Highlights don't always tell the full picture. So, which currently active player would you compare yourself to?
Coquereau's got my hairstyle. Trossard, perhaps. I was a bit greedy, like he is. Difficult to say.
Okay.
But,
if it was a player that isn't in the Brighton shirt, like you could pick any player in the world that's playing right now, who would it be?
Who I'd want to watch?
No, who you would most liken yourself to?
Oh, Georgie Best.
Fair enough.
you know the player I predicted you'd say from Brighton was Trossard as well. But yeah, Joe, I'll let you go next then.
Yeah, definitely. Just going really back to the start of you getting interested in football, like at a young age, like who would the player that you looked up to, and how did you get involved? Did you get into academy, or was it grassroots?
My dad was a United fan, so I had Law Best and Charlton all over my bedroom wall. I had an MU on my ceiling. We used to go and watch United, and so my love of watching them and playing in the garden with my dad and that, always wanted to become a footballer, but you know, I was small and we didn't have academies or anything like that. I didn't get a trial for Derby boys because I was too small, they said. So I just went into local football, men's leagues at 15, and Burton Albion saw me after I scored a lot of goals and went to Burton, and then goes on from there to Brighton and what have you.
Yeah, and with Brighton, did you know much about us as a club before you come to join us after your time at Burton, or?
No. Obviously, I knew the league they were in and where they were in the country, but I knew nothing about Brighton at the time. I remember driving over off of the A23, go up past Waterhall and up the hill as they go into the dike and that, and just seeing the views. I thought, wow, this is pretty cool, and it was. Turned out good.
Yeah. Was there any other offers from like other clubs before you chose Brighton? And if there was there like
there was a couple, but
yeah,
you know, I'd spoke with Peter Taylor, and I thought that was good where I was going.
Fair enough. Do you mind?
I was, I'd not play. I hadn't played in the league as such. I mean, Burton are in the league now, but in the Southern Premier.
Oh,
so,
okay. They want to get on the podcast too. What were the other offers, if you don't mind saying? Do you remember who else came in?
I think Blackburn. Yeah, Blackburn, and can't remember. It's been a long time.
Fair enough.
There was another one. I can't remember. Walsall, perhaps. It was another Midlands team. Well, I can't remember.
Fair enough. Toby?
Yeah. One thing that is for certain that I've witnessed as a Brighton fan is that you'll forever be in folklore and tales that have been told. I think your picture might be on every wall at the Amex. I've seen it everywhere. But just how important was Brighton to your career? And did you love your time at the club as much as we loved you? Or do you feel it was just a step in your career and it was just another club?
No, I love Brighton. If I lived anywhere in England, it would be Brighton. I think we just had a great rapport with the fans in them days. You know what I mean? It was. I remember coming out of Hove Place. We used to go to Hove Place after games, and I'd had a few. Got in the car and forgot to put the lights on, and all of a sudden there was a cop car behind me with two cops in it, and one come home and said, "Bloody hell, Wardy, move over." And he took me home and the other one followed. I mean, nowadays, you'd be in the press, drunk, whatever. I think all the players back in them days would all be in jail now. It was a different time. It was just we went out, drank with the fans. We had the Goldstone, the train, and we sometimes mingled, went back in their carriages and mingled with them. It was a great time to be at Brighton. I'm sure every other club were the same, but it was a great time to be with Brighton. And we were going places. We were going up from the third, and it was just everyone. We had a great camaraderie with all the players, and with the fans. It just went from there. It was great times.
I think that's good to hear, actually, because one of the questions I was going to ask a little bit further on, but you've touched on it there, was the club's motto is very much together. So you think you were together off the pitch as well as on it during your playing days? Yeah, we were. We were definitely together with the fans and with all the players. Yeah.
Amazing. So obviously you spent, I think it was 5 seasons with us in your first stint. During that time, what do you think was the best season you had in terms of playing or
Did it
even...
have to be when I scored all them goals? 76, 77, I think. I got 36 goals. I got 32 league goals, and you don't realise I was breaking a record at Brighton. I didn't know until after I'd done it. And we were at Stoke, and I was presented with a plaque on the field from the guy's son whose record I broke. Can't think of his name at the moment, which is bad. So I didn't really know I was chasing a target of goals.
Yeah.
Until after it was done.
Maybe best to not know, because maybe that might have added some pressure, and you might not have, got as many as you did. Obviously, after that time, you moved to Forest. What was that a decision that was quite difficult for you, or was it just the right time to move on?
Yeah, it was difficult because I just signed a new contract at the start of that season. All very happy at Brighton, and it just came out of the blue. They tried to get me once, and then it was funny because I was at a friend's house and we were watching, it might have been Match of the Day perhaps, or one of the midweek, and it said Forest are talking with Brighton and they've made an offer for Peter Ward. And I mean, I didn't know anything about it. It's not like today when your agent says, "Do you want to go here or there?" It was a surprise. And so I drove up to Nottingham. Well, actually, Derby. Of course, they lived in Derby, Cloughie and Pete. And it just went from there, and I signed. I mean, they were European champions. You you know, it's hard to say no.
Yeah, definitely. And I think looking at your stats, it's probably safe to say that your time at Forest wasn't quite as good as what it was with Brighton. And you came back to us on loan at the start of the 82-83 season, which was obviously the season that we got to the FA Cup final. And I believe this is just what I've read. I believe your loan wasn't extended, so you weren't able to play in the FA Cup final for us. What was that like to take for you, and you know, how much would you have loved to play for us?
Yeah, I mean, we third round replay at Newcastle. I scored the goal 1-0, where they hammered us actually. And then was it Norwich, Man City? I played at Liverpool when we won 2-1, which was unreal, really. And then my loan spell was up, and I spoke with Cloughie. I said I'd like to stay, and he said, and he knew what the run we were on in the cup, and he said, "Son, I've never been to a cup final. Neither have you." And that was it. And I went back to Forest, had a big row with him, and left and come back to America.
Yeah. Do you still hold that to this day that you didn't get to play in that final for us?
No, it's gone. It's one of them things. I watched the final. I was in, I think, I was playing with Seattle, and we were in Chicago, and we all watched the final together. And I lost a bit of money because I had my money on Brighton, or most of the boys didn't. So.
Did you get on the phone to Gordon Smith after that, or?
Nah. I see Gordon now and again. He's a good lad, Gordon. He knows. I mean, it's terrible, really. I mean, he scored as well. Make it worse, you know. He did score in the final. Nice header. Yeah. But he's remembered for that. It's remarkable what he can be remembered for.
Definitely.
I'm sure he's used to it by now. I mean, they still say it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of rival fans sort of clip that and say this is the biggest moment in your history, and it's used as something to sort of goad Brighton fans really now, because we didn't obviously get that chance to lift the cup, which obviously we had the massive chance to. If you played in that side, do you feel like that you could have made some difference and maybe even got a winning goal?
We don't know, do we? I mean, if it was in the same situation, I'm sure I'd have scored. But you know, it's one of them things where the rest of the game you don't know how it goes. You know, but in that situation, I would have. I'd have thought, but you never know. I may have slipped definitely. And chipped it over the ball.
Just going back to your...
and then the replay came along, and 4-1. Terrible.
Yeah, we don't talk about the replay.
Hopefully Brighton can have a good cup run again sometime.
Yeah, we had one a few years ago.
Yeah, always the Premier League. I mean, they used to ask us, "Do you think you'll ever be in a Premier League?" When I was being a fan, coming to games, and I say, "Yeah, you never know." Mark Lawrence had said, "No chance ever," and we were being interviewed together, and he said, "No." I said, "You never know." And then, what do you know?
He always predicts us to lose on the BBC, so yeah. I don't really take much notice of what he says. Yeah, just going back to your first stint, Wardy, with us. During that time, you got called up to the England under-21s, I believe, and scored a hat-trick. What was that like to represent your country at that level? And then obviously go on to get your first cap for England.
Yes, it was a great time. Yeah, that's funny, actually. I'd forgot about that. When you said about goal. Of course, I scored a right foot, a left foot, and the third one was a header, which was a pretty good goal. and so that could have been in my favourite goal. But yeah, I mean, it was unbelievable being called up and the game being at the Goldstone as well, where I think that something went on with the lights, and a lot of fans didn't make the game because of it. But it was a great night, tremendous.
Wonderful. Obviously, you mentioned that you went to Seattle after your loan stint with us. I know that Kurtis is quite intrigued on like the differences between English and American football. So I'll let Kurtis sort of ask his questions regards to that now.
I mean, as Joe mentioned, obviously that there was a difference in stats between your time at Brighton and Forest. Did this make up your mind in moving to the US and not continue in English football? Would you say?
No, I to be honest, Forest was selling me to Seattle, and Venables came in for me. It was at QPR, but Seattle, it was actually no. It was later. It was a loan spell at Seattle. I went from Forest in the summer of '82, and that was just a loan spell. So when I got back to Forest, I got back on the Thursday from the US, and on the Friday morning went training. Then I had to get on a bus and we went to Spurs, and I was sub at Spurs, just flown all them miles from the West Coast back to England. Friday morning training and off to Spurs, and I was sub, and I think Gary Birtles or one of them got injured. And I was on the pitch after about 20 minutes. Had a few games with Forest, and then we just argued. Cloughie said something once. I said, "Hold on, mate," and he said, "Son, as long as I live, you'll not be my mate." He was, we just didn't get on at the time, and so that's when I went to Brighton on loan, and then. After that loan spell, back to Forest is selling me, and Seattle came in, and I spoke with Venables at QPR, but it was money came into it, and it was more money to go to Seattle than. And what makes it funny in the end is the end of that season, Seattle folded and went bust, and so Forest didn't get their money from Seattle. Yeah.
Win-win. Maybe the final word goes to Peter Ward then. You win.
Yeah.
I mean, did you have any other offers to stay in England at that time, or was going to Seattle?
Yeah, I went to Vancouver. In fact, I was in Brighton at the time. I went to Johnny Giles was manager at Vancouver. He said, come on over. And they offered good money again. And there was a couple of offers, but nothing, out of this world. So I enjoyed my time in Seattle, so I just went to Vancouver. And then at the end of that season, I had a couple of offers to come back to England, but I went and played indoor because they offered a lot of money. And I went indoor in Cleveland. And then I had 3 years at Cleveland, went back to Seattle at Tacoma, a couple of years there, and Wichita, Baltimore, and then ended up with Mark Lawrenson at the Rowdies. And Loro called me. He was assistant under Rodney Marsh, and just said, "You want to come for the summer?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So after the indoor season, I went and played for the Rowdies, and I finished my career with them, and that's why I'm still here. I used to think, how can anyone play in this heat? But I think your blood thins out, and you sort of never get used to it. But it's nice. It's not cold ever, hardly. So it's nice.
I mean,
I love it. I'm still here.
Yeah, I mean the heat. I imagine is something that can possibly affect the football out there? I mean, the next question I was going to ask is how does it compare English football to sort of American football? Are the levels different? Would you
Well,
say?
when I was playing, it was very similar because most of our team were English.
Okay.
You only had to have 2 Americans in the side when in 82 and 3 and 4, 3 in 84. So mainly it was Europeans, English, mainly English on Seattle's team, but other teams, you'd have your South Americans dominating one club, and so the football wasn't bad. It's just, obviously, I'm sure you don't think it at a time, but when you're playing like in Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, Jacksonville, it was hot. Although you played in the evening, but it was still hot. And so I'm sure it's a little slower, but you don't think so when you're playing. You know what I mean?
Sure. I mean,
Yeah.
culturally, did you find it quite hard going out to the States initially?
No.
Or
Seattle's just like England. It rains all the time.
oh, good.
Very similar.
Lovely.
Very similar. And I'm with a bunch of English people, so it was like being in England anyway.
Yeah.
Seattle, Vancouver, and then coming over. There's a lot of ex-rowdies here in Tampa, in the Tampa Bay area where I live. So, and we see each other quite often. So, yeah, home from home.
Good.
Wonderful.
And did you think, after when your playing career was coming to an end, did you think that you would become a manager and what kind of manager you would be?
I coach youth, so U9 through U19, and I'm all right. Yeah, I mean, I've been successful with that. Brighton asked me to apply for a Brighton job when Liam Brady got it, so I did. Can't even remember what it was. But I did apply, and they interviewed me in that, but they gave the job to Liam Brady. So that was on the back burner. But
they missed a trick
Sorry?
there. They missed a trick there.
did.
Having Pete Ward as manager. That would have been wonderful.
It would have been good. It would.
Yeah, definitely. Is the system sort of the same over in the US, like with badges and stuff like that? Like UEFA badges,
Yeah.
and obviously it wouldn't be
Yeah.
UEFA because that's European, but
No, you can get
Okay.
your UEFA badges. Yeah, you can.
Oh, okay, fair
But I
enough.
just did the
Good move.
US, licenses.
Yeah,
So, but the higher level you coach at youth level, you have to have certain licenses to be able to. So you have to get them anyway.
yeah. Oh, okay, cool. Toby, I believe something that's quite in the press at the moment is social media toxicity. I believe you had a question on that that you wanted to ask with regards to how it was. Back then.
Absolutely. So nowadays, after a string of bad results, particularly for Brighton, I've noticed, and that might just be because I'm in the Brighton space, but you'd get a huge amount of toxicity after a string of bad results, and that's mainly from social media. But I'm just wondering, how much pressure did you feel after a run of bad results, and did the media get to you as well?
Yeah, they'd put it in the newspaper. Nothing like today. Goodness me, there's no phones. If you want to use the phone, you had to go to the end of the street. Well, when I was playing, but we didn't have cell phones or any, mobile phones or anything. And but you newspapers. Yeah, I mean, nowadays anyone can take a picture and send it, and you're in trouble. So it's got to be. They have to be really careful these days. But they got plenty of money to do it. I mean, I was born too early. Should have been playing now. That'd be nice. But it was nowhere in the same magnitude. But we got slaughtered in the press. So
Yeah.
if we had a bad run, we got bad reviews. Yeah, it was.
And
bad.
like from a
But
footballer's
they're seeing
perspective,
press in it.
like how did that feel to know that people were writing bad things about you, and how did you deal with that?
I didn't bother me, unless it didn't really bother me because you got on, you try to forget about it when you're playing, which you did. So if you read about yourself, I mean, the people used to give points, didn't they? And I don't know if they still do, but I was usually a 7, 8, whatever. But I was talking to a reporter in the bar after the game once, and we were on about Gordon McQueen, and it was on about the nightmare, last game. I said, "Yeah, you give him 4." He said, "I had to give 2 or 3." So it was just, they give you a little point system, didn't they? How bad you were or how good you were.
Yeah.
But, and luckily I've never had that much bad press while I was really, ever.
And obviously
just
something
dating
quite
a showgirl with
something that's quite big in football at the moment is obviously and the world really is the mental health sort of, if I call it a mental health pandemic, because a lot of people are struggling at the moment. How was it back then when you were struggling mentally, and was there support from teammates, or was it quite
they just tell you it's just stupid. It wasn't really thought of back then, although people and players had it. But it was like a taboo, I suppose. There was no help like there is today. Touch wood, luckily, I've always been okay with that. But
sorry about that, Peter. We lost you there, but we'll carry on our discussion. We're just touching on the mental health support that you did or didn't get back when you were playing. Obviously, you mentioned that you didn't struggle yourself, but that support wasn't the same as what it is today.
No, it was, if any players were in that situation, they'd just be told, get out of it, jump out of it. You know what I mean? There was no help or anything. Don't think too many people really knew much about it. So it just, be a man, get off it. It was just like that.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So obviously that's something that is frowned upon these days, where I've had it said to me a few times, because I myself, and I know Toby struggles as well. It's sometimes the worst thing that can be said to you. So I just wonder how it was for players that did struggle. Did you know of any players that did struggle at all?
There was a couple. Yes, I knew.
Obviously, I don't expect you to name them, but
I knew. I wasn't sure what it was myself, though. You know what I mean? What they were going through. So, it was unknown. But now you can get the help, which is really obviously helpful.
Definitely. And what's your stance on like the social media side of things? Obviously, Toby touched on it, and with how toxic that is. Like, do you think players should be protected from that, or?
Yes, definitely. I think there's a lot of abuse at the moment, isn't there? Racism. It really is. And so they've never really done much about it, really. They say, we'll ban them and this and that, but I don't think that's, they have to get on top of it. It must be difficult to do that, but they have to get on top of it.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. And moving on to something maybe a little bit lighter, we've got a little segment for you to build your ultimate Brighton 11 for us. So you can choose between players you played with at Brighton and basically anyone that's played for us since. We're quite interested to know what your 11 would be.
I started off with Peter Grummett in goal, but I think Graham Mosley and Eric Still were 2 very good goalies. I'd have to go with Mose because she liked to drink. And he was a fun guy. And he still is when we see each other. So we're playing a back four, or let's have a look. Let's have a think.
If we go for a flat 4-4-2.
Defenders wise, I'd go with. I'd have. There's a few good defenders, isn't there? I mean, I actually like Duncan Duffy. I think Duffy's done well since he come back from Celtic.
Yeah, definitely.
He's big.
That's for sure.
Playing with, I enjoy. I mean, Steve Foster was good, very good. Loro. I liked Andy Rollins in the team, so I suppose Loro and Mark Lawrence in the back two. Ken Tyler was good at fullback. John Gregory, excellent. So probably go with. And Bruno was a great fullback, good captain. I'd probably say Bruno. Left. Bridges played for a while, didn't he? Left back. I'm trying to think who was left back constantly when I was playing. I can't think. Harry Wilson to start with. Gary Williams. I like Gary. Yeah, we'll go with Gary Williams. Midfield, Brian Orton. Sully. And another midfielder. There's been some good midfielders with Brighton lately.
Oh God, yeah, you got the likes of Vicente, obviously, Bissouma, Stevens, loads.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we'll leave that one for now. And then, obviously, I'll go me, Zamora, and Mella.
That's a formidable front three. That.
Yeah.
Spider.
Yeah, Spider. And wow. Put John Gregory in the midfield. Gregory, Horton, and Sully.
Cool. That's it. I think that team definitely wins the Premier League. What do you reckon?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's right, yeah. Definitely.
Who would you have as the manager? Would you choose a manager?
I'd have to go with Millers. Yeah, I'd go with Alan Moore. Yeah.
I think you have to. Yeah, definitely. Everyone knows what he means to the football club and what he's done for the football club. So, yeah, we cannot argue with that at all. We've got a few fan questions just before we let you go, Wardy. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Lovely. So I'll just get them, unless one of you lads have got them up. Have you, Toby or Curtis?
I've got them up, but I think Curtis wanted to ask.
The
prediction first.
So. Yeah. It was. Where do you think Brighton might finish this season? And do you see sort of European football in our future? Do you think? Or
it'd be nice.
Yeah,
got the stadium. I mean, even if we have to start in that Conference League, but I mean, always want to aim for top 10. But the way we're going, they're doing great. It would be nice to be top 6, 7, and it's not out of their ground. It depends on injuries to certain players.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they could do that in the near future in Europe. It'd be really good.
Here's hoping.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed, Wardy, you say we. Do you still regard Brighton as your team?
I do, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, we love that.
Yeah, good man.
I did even playing when I used to come and watch at the Widding, and God, that was not great. But and a lot of fans didn't go because it was the Widding. They wouldn't go, and a lot of fans. I used to talk to a lot of fans, being at Brighton in the evenings, and they'd say, "No, I'm not going to ever go there." So everyone was waiting for that new stadium, and when it arrived, it was fantastic, wasn't it? It was
yeah, magical.
Yeah, definitely needed.
I remember going around as it was being built with a hard hat on, and yeah, brilliant, fantastic. He's done a great job.
Did they get you hammering in any nails while you were there? Did they get you building anything while you were there? Did they?
No, just hard hat. Yeah, me and the wife were walking around a quarter-built, half-built stadium. That was good. It was really good. It was it's good to see it being built. And then
definitely.
obviously when it was the first game, Tottenham, friendly. Yeah. I was there for that. And the first home game as well. And it's
wonderful. Do you see yourself? Obviously, the borders have reopened between the US and England. Any plans to get back to the Amex at all? Or?
I mean, I would have been at quite a few games recently, but it might have to wait now until the new year. Over in the new year, and hopefully see some games. Yes,
I'm sure definitely. There'll be plenty of drinks bought for you, and plenty of ticket offers anyway. So I think you've got plenty of options there. As I say, we'll just finish off with some fan questions, and then obviously we'll let you crack on with your day. But obviously, I just want to first of all say thank you for having.
Yes, Joe, it's good. Nice talking to the three of you.
Really appreciate it. So there's only 5 fan questions. The first one is: do you still have the seat from the Goldstone ground? This guy's dad took it all the way to Florida to you.
I do.
That was from Jack.
I do have a seat from the Goldstone. Yes, I do.
Wonderful. Toby?
Well, simple question really from Els M09. Would you prefer the Goldstone or the Amex?
I know it's unbelievable to think that the Goldstone held more people than the Amex, but you've got to say the Amex. Although the atmosphere was great at the Goldstone, it's great at the Amex. Nice new. So, yeah, although the Goldstone was my life for a while, the Amex is the better stadium.
For sure. Kurtis?
We have another question from BHA Melvs, who asks, how does it feel to be known as one of the best players in the club's history?
It's very nice. Really nice. And I interact with them when I'm in Brighton. I'll have quite a few friends in Brighton. And and I play in I haven't recently because of COVID, but the Renf game, Robert Eaton Memorial Fund game every year against the Palace fans, and it's great coming back home and seeing a lot of Brighton people.
Yeah, definitely. And following on from that question, this is from North Stand Seagull. How does it feel to know that we still sing your name all these years on? Your name is still sung in the North Stand.
I know it's brilliant for me. Very nice. I mean, I talk to kids who, how do you know me? And they say, well, my granddad and my dad, they've all told me about it. And just to live on in that memory is really nice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for us, like we weren't around when you played, and my dad and my mum tell me so many stories about watching you. My granddad as well. I'm sure it's the same for the other guys.
Yeah.
So it's just such a pleasure to be able to actually speak to you and have you on our platform to even educate
Anytime.
fans on who you are.
Anytime.
And Toby, I believe you got one last question.
Yeah, and actually, this one comes from Joe's dad, so a special one for Joe, I think. Just how many players that you played with do you still keep in touch with from your time at Brighton?
Well, when I come to Brighton, we'll get together. I'll call and say I'm going to be there that weekend or whatever. Or if Brighton are having a function where quite a few players are there as well. But the ones still in Brighton, Andy Rollins, Gary Williams, Teddy, Sully, who else? And when we have a function, Chris Catlin, when we have a function, we all get together, all have a few drinks together, go out on the town together. So yeah, we're still just as pally now as we were then. It was a great time for us, and it's nice to see each other again after so many years.
Definitely.
That is lovely to hear. And
sure.
One thing that you probably all share in common as well is playing under the legend Alan Mullery. I know we touched on it, but just how special was that period of time under Alan Mullery?
It's great. He came along, and I'd just got in the team, and I thought, well, I'm not going to stay in the team at the start of the season because new manager. But he put his faith in me, and we just went from there.
Perfect. One final
80,
thing.
He turns 80 this month.
Wow.
Wow.
We'll all be celebrating that, I'm sure. One final thing. You touched on the atmosphere at the Amex, which we've noticed in the last few games has been a little bit dour. So I wondered if we could get a message from you to the Albion fans out there to G them up a little bit and to get behind the boys for the rest of this season.
Right. The next game, is it Villa? And then Leeds? Is it Leeds?
Villa away, then Leeds at home, yeah.
Yeah. So the Leeds match, I'll be watching. I know that because I don't have a game that day to coach. And tell them to sing a Wardy song. Get the crowd going.
Yeah, that will get the crowd going for sure. We'll get that ring around the Amex. Definitely. We'll get that around the Amex, and I'm sure that the fans will listen to what Wardy has to say for sure. So
Absolutely.
yeah, thank you for that. Unless any other guys have any more questions,
I'm all out. Thank you very much for the opportunity, Wardy.
Yeah, thank you, Wardy.
Wonderful. Yeah, again,
guys. Yeah, so very good. Enjoyed it. Anytime.
Wonderful. That's good to hear. Hopefully chat to you soon, mate.
Yes.
Thank you. Cheers. Oh,
see
for sure.
We'll
get you on live. Cheers.
Bye.
Take care.
So, guys, that obviously was the legend that is Peter Ward. Again, thank you so much for coming on. If you are watching this back, I know a lot of fans are going to love the stories you told. We had such a great time talking to you. And what a pleasure to do it with my buddies beside me. So, Toby, Kurtis, thank you so much for joining me on this one.
Again, Joe, thank you for allowing me to come on. I appreciate it, my friend.
No worries at all, my friend.
What incredible pool you have. Better than Graham Potter's pool, that is.
Well, there you go. Honestly, guys, thank you so much. Thanks for watching, you guys out there. Hopefully we'll get a few more guests on in the future. And until then, up the Albion. Cheers, guys.